What's good, you guys? It's your boy here, and today we'll be at it again with another review. And today we'll be reviewing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This game is an asymmetrical survival horror game developed by Sumo Nottingham and published by Gun Interactive. So in April 1973, a tragedy and despair have struck Central Texas. A young college student named Maria Flores has seemingly vanished without a trace. She was last seen near the town of Newton more than 2 weeks ago, but with no physical evidence, the investigation was stalled. With a few leads and even less hope, Maria's younger sister Anna Flores and a group of her closest friends set out to find their missing loved one. But a grief of sadness caused by Maria's disappearance would pale in a comparison to the agony and despair they would soon discover. What awaited this group of youths was a nightmare beyond belief. The events surrounding Maria's disappearance would be just one of the many bizarre crimes later known as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That is enough about the plot. Let's talk about the overall gameplay. So the match begins by taking on a role, either the family member or the victim, with a total of 3 family members and 4 victims being playable for each match. So to keep my sanity sane, we're gonna go over the victims first. So the victim stats are broken down into 5 main attributes, which is toughness, endurance, strength, proficiency, and stealth. And while each victim have a base value for each attribute, the values can be tweaked by the victim's unique skill tree. Among the various perks within the skill tree that can be unlocked by unlocking attribute points, in which you can use it to build your victim's loadouts in unique ways. While all of the victims have their strengths and weaknesses, which can be extremely powerful in terms of customizing your loadout to feel unique and play the way that you would like to play. So the main goals of the victims are to stay quiet and stay hidden, find useful items, unlock exits, and finally try to escape the family. After escaping their restraints, the victim must first escape the basement to reach the various methods to escape. The victims can escape between 4 exits, which are always presented in every map, in which it is the front exit, the back exit, the secret basement exit, and then there's this weird pumping exit somewhere. Last 2 exits that I mentioned before, you do need specific requirements in order for you to actually escape those exits. Now I'm gonna add my personal take on being the victim. Honestly, being the victim freaking sucks, and that's because numerous different things. So the map is set a 1 of 3 maps. These being the Slaughter Family House, the gas station, and the slaughterhouse. 2 of the maps being part of the actual film, and the last one being a completely new map. And again, saying that and stating that, there's no map in the game. So you're technically running around not knowing where to go. I always end up getting freaking stuck on the other side of the map, and it always end up getting me killed. And it sucks that the fact that you actually have to depend on the landmarks, on the location specifically to know where you're going. And changing the brightness settings won't help either. It doesn't matter if you change it or not. You still can't see jack shit. And to add icing on the cake, the doors are freaking goddamn wonky, and freaking the community is also part of the problem as well, because they're stingy and they only use certain characters. And if you die playing as the victim, you won't get much XP, so you won't progress through the game at all, making a terrible experience playing as the victim. But anyways, I babble on enough about the victims themselves. Let's talk about the family. Family attributes fall into 3 categories, which is savagery, harvesting, and endurance. Just like the victims, most of their attributes differ depending on the family member that you are playing as, and can be tuned to your liking by unlocking the attribute points within the skill tree and assigning them to one of the 3 categories. On top of the attribute points, certain perks within the skill tree will also buff up the attribute categories by equipping them. So each family member also has additional unique characteristics that don't necessarily function quite the same as the abilities, but they're just a part of who they are technically. So the whole goal of the family is to secure the property, feed Grandpa blood, hunt and collect blood from the victims, and finally make sure that the victim doesn't escape and kill them. If enough damage is dealt to the victim, they are immediately killed and removed from the match. While doing all of this, they need to feed Grandpa, whether it's the blood of the victims or the blood bags around the map specifically. Because the amount of blood that he gets, he will occasionally shriek and reveal the outline of any victim who is moving to all family members. If it gets to the final stage, regardless regardless if you're moving or not. It will still reveal the outline, and all of the family members can see you and can possibly kill you. Now, my personal take on being the freaking family member. It is the exact opposite of how I feel being the victim. I had so much fun being the killer, it wasn't even funny, except for one tiny detail where someone has to play as Leatherface in order for the match to begin, which honestly, for me personally, I could somewhat understand where they're coming from with it, but it kind of sucks because the majority of the people don't want to play as Leatherface. That's because majority of the other characters' abilities are too freaking OP. For a good example, freaking Sissy's Blood Harvesting build is freaking insane, and freaking once Johnny freaking has a track of your footprints, dog, he will not rest until you are dead. I feel like in order for other people to actually even try to play other characters, specifically Leatherface and Cook, the other family members need to get nerfed in a sense. But I was just babbling on. But while I was playing the killer, I had crazy amounts of fun. I've killed a lot of motherfuckers, dog. For me personally, I feel that playing as the killer specifically is a lot more easier than playing the victim. Of course, naturally, the progression system, again, doesn't really help, but you will gain a little bit more XP playing as the killer than the victim, making it worth your while. Graphically, the game is good, and I mean good, and honestly, that's all I have to say about it. Environmentally, in the gameplay standpoint, it's beneficial to the family members specifically, but as the victim, it is a huge problem, and it honestly really needs to be fixed. And the soundtrack is okay. And before I forget this, because it literally just came up in the back of my mind, while playing online specifically, I honestly had no problem playing the game at all. The game was almost buttery smooth. I had no problem playing the game whatsoever. Well, I think that I covered mostly everything, so let's hop on to the overview. On the positive side of things, the overall story is there. The gameplay itself is okay, I guess. I like how they shown the attribute points and the perks. I specifically love their skill tree. Some of the abilities in the game are okay, but it's not the best. Graphically, the game is good, the soundtrack is good, and I definitely like the online because I had no problem playing through the game. On the negative side of things, there's no map, so you have to solely depend on the goddamn landmarks, which sucks. The brightness settings are doo-doo butters. Freaking environmentally and a gameplay standpoint, it's beneficial to the family specifically, but not the survivors as much. The community sucks. There's barely any progression to the game, and it kind of sucks that the fact that you actually have to play as Leatherface for a match to start. And finally, certain family members' abilities are too over freaking powered, and it needs to get nerfed. So the game came out in August 18th, 2023. The game should be in most platforms, so PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. It's also in the next gen consoles as well. If you get the game digitally, it should be about $39.99. If you get the game in your local stores, it should be about the same price range. But honestly, it all depends on where you look. So, is this game worth your money? I pre-ordered the crap out of this freaking game. And once I literally freaking played it on day one, knowing that the servers was literally down on day one, I instantly knew that this game was not going to be as good as everybody thought it was going to be. On top of the numerous problems in the community, it was already set in stone. And personally, I feel like there's a lot more better options out there besides this game. With that being said, you can skip this game entirely. And take this in a grain of salt as you will. It is just my personal opinion. So with that being said, if you like the review, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet. I do reviews, videos, PvP matches, streams, and more. And if you haven't yet, please don't forget to follow me on my Facebook page and my Twitch account because I stream on those platforms as well. Everything should be in the description box below. Peace.
Yo, the black man died first! This is the racist game ever! That's wild!